Nearly half of all US adults have high blood pressure. That is remarkable, and it's so avoidable. High blood pressure or hypertension is also known as a silent killer because oftentimes high blood pressure has no symptoms, but it's a major risk for heart disease and stroke, which is the leading disease risk for death in the United States. Now, our blood pressure is measured by millimeters of mercury, and there are two numbers involved in our blood pressure. So first we have that top number, which is our systolic blood pressure. And what that represents is it's the force of pressure when your heart is pushing blood into your arteries and then throughout the rest of your body. And the bottom number, which is called the diastolic blood pressure, that represents the pressure in your blood vessels between beats when your heart is filling and relaxing. So our blood pressure depends on the amount of blood that our heart is pumping and how much resistance that our blood flow has. So if you have narrowed arteries, you will have higher blood pressure. Now, at today's standards, blood pressure that is lower than 120/80 is considered normal. And blood pressure that's 130/80 is considered elevated blood pressure. Now, if your numbers fall between above that 120/80 but lower than 130/80, that is considered elevated blood pressure, and you're more at risk for developing high blood pressure. Now, the good news with that is that if you're at the status of elevated blood pressure, there are a lot of things you can do to help decrease your blood pressure and get it back into that lower than 120/80. And so today, we're going to talk about 3 ways you can lower your blood pressure. But first, I want to introduce myself. I'm Marcy Vasky. I'm a functional medicine nutritionist, and I specialize in gut health. And so I see a lot of people who struggle with diarrhea, constipation, bloating, gas, and that's just to name a few things. So if this sounds like you or even someone you know and love, I'm going to link our website down below where you can easily make an initial appointment. And if you're like someone who just sort of wants to get more information or you like to learn on your own about maybe doing some changes for your gut health, I'm also going to link our free guide, which is 5 ways to improve your gut health. So take a look at those things. You know where you fit in, and if one of them is resonating most for you, I encourage you to either make an appointment or click on our free guide. So as I mentioned earlier, we're going to go through 3 ways to help decrease or improve your blood pressure. So number 1 is cut back on sugar and refined carbohydrates. Now, there have been many studies that have showed that restricting or eliminating refined sugars or processed carbohydrates actually helps you lose weight and therefore decreasing blood pressure. There was a study done that said sugar, and specifically fructose, can elevate your blood pressure even more than salt. And in the study, they found that the diastolic pressure went up by 5 points and that systolic pressure went up by almost 7 points. So if you're hovering around that, borderline from 120/80 into that, between that 130/80, you're in that elevated blood pressure. So simply by taking some sugar out, that can decrease your blood pressure and you're back into normal ranges. Now, if you're taking out some of those refined carbohydrates and processed sugars, what happens is you tend to eat more protein and healthy fats. So you're staying fuller longer and your blood sugar is more stabilized. But how is this affecting your blood pressure? There was a study done that watched people who kind of changed their diet around and ended up eating 100 grams of protein per day. And what they found is that people who ate 100 grams of protein per day actually decreased their blood pressure by 40%. So that's huge. So it's just a few dietary changes, taking out those refined carbohydrates, things like crackers and chips and breads and some of these things that aren't really serving you for a lot of reasons. But if you're having elevated high blood pressure, definitely another reason to take some of that out and put in more protein, 100 grams of protein, and adding in those healthy fats. And of course, by taking out some of those carbohydrates, they were also incorporating more of the good carbohydrates, right? Vegetable carbohydrate. So therefore, they were getting a little more fiber, and fiber was shown to even reduce the blood pressure by 60%. So just two little things make such a big difference. Now, of course, not everyone can be on a higher protein diet. People with kidney disease, and of course, you need to check with your physician about that. But if you're just kind of getting into that elevated high blood pressure, these are things that you might want to be taking a look at. So how are some ways that you can add more protein to your diet if it fits your needs and you don't have any of the underlying issues going on? Easy ways would be adding some meat protein. You could do some eggs. Chickpeas for a vegetarian option has quite a bit of protein. And you're kind of looking at, about 28 grams of protein per meal to reach that 100 gram of protein per day. So it's fairly easy, but it's really interesting. A lot of the people I see over the years are under eating protein. And once we kind of increase that, so many things improve in their health. And so start paying attention. Do you have 4 ounces of protein at your meal at the minimum? Are you decreasing some of those refined carbohydrates or too much high fructose corn syrup? Those are the things you want to take out. Bring in the protein, bring in the healthy vegetables for all that good fiber, fruits, and your blood pressure will be happier and your waistline will be too. Now, the second reason we're going to go over, or what we're going to go over, is reducing caffeine intake, or your coffee, maybe your Red Bulls, whatever you kind of like. What they have found is that caffeine can raise blood pressure, but even more significantly in individuals who already have elevated blood pressure. So if you're having 1 or 2 cups of coffee a day, probably not a big deal because the caffeine increases the blood pressure, but it's only temporary. But if you're getting into like 3, 4 cups, 5 cups of caffeine a day, or maybe you're doing some coffee in the morning, you're doing a couple energy drinks in the afternoon, you're just getting too much caffeine, and that's increasing the blood pressure in your body. So easy ways to decrease caffeine is kind of putting some rules around it, right? If you enjoy your coffee, I think coffee is amazing. Organic coffee has so much benefit to it, and studies have shown that, with all the antioxidants that it provides, and it can be very helpful, but it can also be deterring. So, keeping that to like 1 or 2 cups of caffeine a day in whatever form you like. But then on the back end of that, how reducing caffeine can help is increasing our sleep. And if we sleep better during the evening or at night, then your blood pressure is also affected. So let's say you're having too much caffeine and then you're not sleeping good, and then we just keep doing this whole cycle. That just keeps elevated blood pressure from increasing heart risk, right? And so, decrease the caffeine, and then you end up sleeping better. So just a little tweak there. I think a lot of people pay attention to their caffeine, but sometimes we don't. So just another reminder to check in on your caffeine consumption. Now, the last way that we're going to talk about how to improve your blood pressure is by doing some supplementation. And a couple supplements that I want to specifically talk about is omega-3s and magnesium. Now, we've talked about omega-3s on this channel a lot, and they can help anywhere from brain health to heart health to decreasing inflammation. And what studies have found is that omega-3 fish oil can actually help to reduce blood pressure. A study found that actually omega-3s help reduce that systolic blood pressure by 4 points and diastolic by 3 points. And I know that doesn't sound like a lot, but again, if you're just barely over that 120/80, those are big numbers, which pushes you back into that healthy range of blood pressure. So by adding in a few omega-3s daily, typically I would say take 3,000 milligrams a day. That's a nice dose to help improve blood vessel health or decrease inflammation, also brain health. So it has all these great things. So adding a little bit of omega-3 is the way to go. And the second supplement I want to chat about is magnesium. The most absorbable form of magnesium is magnesium glycinate, and it's usually very safe and good for everybody. We, in America, there's 85% of people are actually magnesium deficient. So it's likely that you might need a little bit. And what studies have found is that magnesium actually reduces blood pressure. And so it's a simple one to put in. We need it for over 400 different pathways in our body. And magnesium can help you sleep better. So as I talked about earlier, getting better sleep reduces blood pressure. So you can easily take 200 milligrams before you go to bed at night, helps you sleep deeper, calms you down, calms our muscles down, and that's how it helps blood pressure, because it helps calm and relax our blood vessels. So those were a few ways that we can help improve blood pressure naturally and get you back into that healthy range.